ratio, whereas the men are much more dominant in their extensors, and it's the extension strength that seems to link to number of concussions. Now that we're starting to measure it in a reliable way, seems to be the extension strength. And then I've just had a dissertation student do neck strength at training sessions between baseline after 1 scrum, 3 scrums and 5 scrums during a training session. And the players are significantly weaker, obviously, after the 5 scrums, but we're actually getting that body of data now to say that. And then, of course, you've got to think, well, are they then, you know, is it good practice actually when the managers decide to replace the whole of their front leg at 60 minutes, because actually you're potentially getting good performance, but at the same time, you're potentially reducing injury by doing that.
When you say it's neck extensors that relates to concussion, do you mean that stronger neck extensors less likely to concussion?
Yeah.
Not the ratio.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So yes, the stronger neck extension, but equally the ratio to extension and flexion not being more than, I think it was 0.75, i.e. if flexion was 75% of extension, that also matters.
So if the difference between extensors and flexors is greater, then it's
also more likely to get injured. But that data is only just emerging, and I haven't found anything that's published yet. It's only because I know what research projects are going on. Difficulty we've got, as ever, is bringing the research into the clinical practice and then getting the clinicians to believe that this is a good use of their time. But with the screening, as I was saying, if you're going to screen, you then need to make use of it. So you screen, if they get injured, you re-measure them before they return to training, you re-measure them before they return to play, you make sure that they've reached their baseline measurement. And with, like, I've got some normative data for rugby players, but under, and then I'm going to put you in the right place. You've got to find there. And then your knees have to be below your hips and your hands below your shoulders. And then I make sure, for my research, I put a dowel on the back to make sure that the thoracic spine with retraction was level with the sacrum and the occiput, so that it was always repeatable for the next time. And that's what I'm looking for from my S&C coaches. The importance is in the instructions to make sure that the instructions are the same. So basically, it's going to be an isometric test. So what I do is, are you okay if I touch you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to find his occiput and make sure that that is against the load cell. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to say retract your scapula. So pull your shoulder blades together, but keep your elbows straight. Knees below hips, hands below shoulders. And then I'm going to have to hold on to this because he's probably really strong. The instruction to you is going to be, you're going to push as hard and as fast as you can for approximately 3 seconds. Because it's not a, let's see how long he can hold it. It could be if I wanted to do an endurance test, but this is a, what's his peak? You're not going to come off the load cell, it's going to stay in contact. You're going to push as hard and as fast as you can when I say it, for about 3 seconds. Then you're going to stop, you're going to stay there. 10 seconds later he's going to do another one, and 10 seconds later he's going to do another one, just to get the 3, so that if there's a spike, actually what we found was there wasn't, you probably don't need to do 3, but hey ho. So if I start the reading, so I'm going to hold on to this. When you're ready, push! And stop.
Jesus.
Good, stay there. Okay, when you're ready, push! And relax. Stay there. Feel okay?
Yeah.
Okay, when you're ready, push! And relax. Awesome. Comfortable. So you've got to be happy that you're going to push sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so then he's going to retract his shoulder blades because that sets the thoracic spine and stops that from wobbling. knees below hips, hands below shoulders. He should be level in there. The side flexion is always at the same height as extension. Like I said, should have done his warm up. And the instruction is the same again. You're going to push as hard and as fast as you can for approximately 3 seconds. Oh, when I've got my iPad back on. So, when you're ready, push and stop and stay there. You okay?
Yep.
When you're ready, push and relax. See, they hit the peak force usually almost as soon as they start it. And when you're ready, push. Excellent, and stop. So that's right. Okay, when you're ready, push. Good, and relax.
Cool.
The one that people say feels weird. Looking at the board. Flexion. Okay. Interesting, isn't it? When you're ready, push. Nice, and relax. See, a little bit of feedback. And when you're ready, push and relax. It's that bit. Does it look too high? Does it look too low? What you're looking for, if you just retract there, what you're looking for is if you put a dowel on there, would it hit there? Now, if we put it up one, I think he will feel too high up. It's the one that just looks a little bit odd. That is actually perfect. Now, can you or not go onto your hands, or is that difficult? And then pull that, see, that looks better, yeah? Take a little bit of time to have a look and then get him cognitively to think, that's the position I'm going to want you in every time I test you on this machine. Because what's reliable is if we always do the same thing, we'll always get a reliable result. So you need to remember what height the bar is. Well, you need to write it down. He needs to remember what it feels like in that position. Because even if it feels odd, if he always does that, he's going to be fine. Okay, so.
People with hyper in an environment where what happens matters.
In terms of being a sports physio, especially like in elite sports,
Yeah.
what's been the biggest barrier with dealing with management in terms of getting your clinical decisions and their manager, like, I guess more of their profiting mindset on the same basis?
They get them on board,
Like, yeah, so like you have a clinical
They
decision to
believe you.
make, huh?
as in getting them to believe you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say first of all, when I was young, I'm a little old now. It was being female. That was probably my biggest barrier with old school coaches. So what did I do? I phrased it in ways that would make sense to them. Like I made sure that I gave them choices, because I would say my biggest advice with any coach physio relationship is that it's not your decision. The risk doesn't sit with you, it's their choice. You can say, this person has this calf symptom. We've probably got 3 choices. We can do this, like biggest protect, safest idea, gonna give you them playing in X amount of days or X amount of weeks, we're aiming at this fixture. Or we can go more risky, but the fallout of it is X and Y. But we can do it if you want to, and this is how it would look. So you talk them through the scenarios and the consequences of each of the plans, and you don't do it with an emotion. Like, you have to respect that they're there for a reason, you have to respect their decision making. and then you go, how do you want to play this? Because it depends who the person is. If they are Ellie Kildare and we're just about to go into the Six Nations, they're going to be like, well, absolutely no risks. If we're about to go into a Grand Slam game against France at Twickenham and we need her on the field, they're going to go, okay, cool, we'll do this, but I need you to kind of mitigate this factor afterwards. Or if the risk is so great that it would implicate the World Cup, then they won't take that risk. And that's where you have that back and forward of like, who do you need, what's important for them. So give them options, don't make the decision for them, but just outline the risks and the consequences, and they'll respect that you're respecting their decision, I would say. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Tiny little snippets, they won't recover very well, so they'll always be sort of achy. Nothing will be major, but everything will be achy. And I think my biggest kind of thing with that is you won't just get a bone stress that's really obvious. You'll get, it really will be that ache of getting some sort of like low level, like, oh, the outside of my foot's a bit sore. So then you have to go down like your bony assessment of knowing is compression, distraction, like is it soreness on one side of the bone or the other side of the bone, and going through. They don't all get night pain. They don't all get pain at rest, but you can get like significant differences on their MRIs. As a rule of thumb, the worst bone stress, if someone had like shin splints that's just been really persistent, which is in essence the beginning of bone stress. If you had the worst case scenario, they'd be sore out of bed and they get worse when they warm up to do their training session and they can't finish their training session because it's really sore. You'll get, which is probably like a grade 4, you'll get a grade 3 where they might be a bit uncomfortable out of bed but they warm up. They don't mind the warm up in training session, but it gets worse through the session and they have to stop. So they actually started really good. It looks a little bit like a tendon picture. And then you get somebody where actually they'll get out of bed, they've got no problem, that's a grade 3. You get out of bed, you get no problem, they'll go through a training session, but like a couple of hours later, they're like, God, this is throbbing now, like this is sore. Wake up the next morning, they feel okay. Probably more than grade 2. Or you get your grade 1s where they might have a bit of an ache, a dull ache afterwards, but they just think, oh, it was a hard training session, and they wouldn't think much of it. And then that happens, and basically the symptom that happened after the session comes in earlier and earlier and earlier in the session, or it happens in the morning when they get out of bed, because it's like your body giving you a bit of a flagpole. Slight tangent, but if you do get those signs, listen to them and don't bother with an x-ray because it won't do anything unless it's like hanging off